Part 1 Team members Otmar SZAFNAUER, Guenther STEINER, Mario ISOLA Q Guenther. Let's start with you. You've been traveling globally since we last saw you in Saudi Arabia. You went to the NASCAR race, Circuit of America, at COTA last weekend. Let's start with that. How was it? I tried to help with the broadcast, you know. Q, should I be worried? GS, no. You don't have to worry about anything. I learned that it is not an easy task. Fox asked me and I said yes because I want to try something a little different. Q, and of course Jenson Button and some Räikkönen were doing it. Well, for some it's not an exit, but how did they do it? GS, I think they went pretty well. It's very difficult for an F1 driver to get there. I think the biggest difference is it's a contact sport, NASCAR, and you never know when it's coming. Obviously the guys who do this on a weekly basis have a lot of experience, and if you drive an F1 car you are not used to being pushed and pushed. I think they did pretty well. Like I said, who's done it before, so it's a bit more used to it. I've talked to both of them, and I think the most important thing is that they're enjoying it. I think it's a lot of fun and they don't have the pressure that they have when racing here full time, to get there and do this race in a completely different car, in cold environment. Pretty cool to do. Q, let's get him on the Formula 1 team. How's it going? Of course, Kevin bought P10 in Jeddah, last time he went out. Give a summary of where you think Haas is now. No, I'm kidding. Think Bahrain, weren't okay, must say, but knew why and always thought Jeddah was a different place, and we're pretty good for where we're in Jeddah. Very tight between P5 and P10. Nothing. The 6 teams are very close to each other, and you are just getting started on each track. Jeddah was good for us. Without the safety car, might have gotten a little closer to Otmar's car, but we couldn't because we're almost stuck behind Tsunoda, a free pit stop. We just need to work hard and keep improving so we can protect this place. Nico is doing a good job. I mean, pretty happy, but we can't be too comfortable because it's too close. Sometimes in tenths of a second we have 5 cars. But I think that makes the championship in midfield going from P5 to P10 now, very interesting. I mean, he's always there, nervous with what you can and can't do, but I think we're fine. Q, are you okay this weekend? Just tell us what happened at FP1, and how hopeful you are for the rest of the weekend. GS, what we've seen so far is roughly like in Jeddah. We're there and I'd say between 6 and 7. Both of our drivers were lucky as there was a red flag when the GPS system went down because Norris was no longer on the GPS, so he didn't know we were coming, and we couldn't see him. He couldn't see us. So we lost those rounds, but all in all, we still have a lot of work ahead of us to score points this weekend. We don't get points, have to work hard, and work hard for race pace, know are good at race pace. We did it in Jeddah, we were there with the others. We do the same thing here, trying to get the best racing speed, and then just qualifying, lap as fast as possible. So hopefully we can score points, but we'll have to wait until Sunday to know. Q, Mario, let's bring it to you. Let's take a rundown of FP1, and how it went from your perspective. Mario ISOLA, it's always difficult to understand FP1 from our perspective because track development is so much and teams focus more on setup of car. I believe we decided bring in 3 compounds, or soft is different compound than last year, because last year C5 was a bit too soft, no one was going to use it during the race. So we want to encourage strategies, probably with mix of 1 and 2 stops. But we also use all 3 compounds. And soft in FP1 was only used by Verstappen during the whole session, but in end it is from other drivers and works quite well, so I'm sure we can strategize on Sunday. We get more data with FP2 in the afternoon. Q, can we get a word on how new compounds are performing this year? This year we attended the press conference for the first time. Looking back at race 1, race 2, and what we've seen so far, are you happy with how things are going? I am happy because the goals were to increase the level of integrity we did, as they clearly use a lower pressure for new construction. The second point was about reducing understeer, and in this case I believe the new build helps stabilize the car. The third was to test this new C1 compound, which worked quite well in Bahrain. We're also trying to figure out if we can use it in more races. Close to C2, sometimes we can also replace C2 with C1. We need to get some more data and agree the allocation with the FIA. But yes, the new package works as expected. Let's move forward now. The tire tender was launched for the 2025 to 27 season, of course with an option for 2028. Now that you have been F1's tire supplier since 2011, you have confirmed your interest in continuing to supply tires. Was it an easy decision for Pirelli to make? This is never an easy decision because invest a lot of resources and money in Formula 1, but we are happy with the results have achieved so far. 13 years a long time, and continuing for 4 more years is also a bigger commitment, but the sport very healthy, we are satisfied with the current situation. As I said, we are happy to do our part in sport and to follow up on requests from drivers, teams, FIA and F1, have an even better sport if possible. So we are now in the process of analyzing the rather long document. It's different from the past with a lot more pages to analyze, but as I said, the general feeling is that we want to apply and move on. This is a process and we will wait for the end of the process. Otmar was P4 in the Manufacturers' Championship last year. You mentioned wanting to use this as a springboard to close the top 3. Tell us briefly what has happened so far for Alpine this year. Otmar SZAFNAUER. At the 2 data points we have, the first race in Bahrain did not go to plan for either driver. I think someone started almost at the back or last due to some issues in qualifying. Esteban got into Q3, but was penalized too quickly for being outside the grid position. And from there we made a mistake and started working on car very early after his suspension, and I think he was also caught speeding in the pit lane, so he ruined race. Pierre went from the last to the points, 9th, which was a great drive from him. I'm 1 second behind Bottas. We just needed a few more kids. We were catching him. Well, we threw it. We were the 5th fastest team in Ferrari in the last race, and we are not pushing too hard to see if we can beat them. It's a bit conservative, but what we have to do is go back on that.